Do you know what an element is? How about a compound? A mixture? If you were watching this video, you probably don't, but that's okay, because today you're going to learn what each of these terms mean and how to differentiate between them. We will also be demonstrating some fun experiments, so stay tuned.
Let's start with elements. Elements are the building blocks of the universe and are substances that cannot be chemically broken down into simpler substances.
Elements are atoms. Atoms are a single unit that consists of a nucleus made of protons and neutrons. Tiny particles called electrons orbit the nucleus.
Each element has a different number of electrons, protons, and neutrons. That's one way they are organized on the periodic table, which shows all of the elements.
We're going to show you some elements. Many elements are dangerous and should be handled with extreme caution. Others are harmless to humans. Most of these elements are harmless by themselves. However, during the experiments, you must always be wearing safety goggles and gloves. Do not consume or inhale anything used in the experiments. Make sure that sodium and lithium are being stored in mineral oil and are not exposed to any type of water, even water vapor.
Our first element is carbon, which is a nonmetal. As you can see, if I take a hammer and smash the carbon, it will shatter. It is very brittle. This is a Bohr model of carbon. Anything made of carbon consists of this type of atom.
Sodium is a metal. It is very reactive and soft. As you can see, I can cut it with a plastic knife very easily. Here is a Bohr model of a sodium atom. Magnesium is another metal. It is very malleable, which means that it is very pliable or bendable. Here is a Bohr model of a magnesium atom.
Sulfur is a nonmetal. It is very smelly and has a distinct yellow color. Here's a Bohr model of a sulfur atom. Silicon is a metalloid. Metalloids are a select group of elements that share characteristics with metals and nonmetals. Silicon is very shiny and also brittle. Here's a Bohr model of a silicon atom.
Zinc is a metal. It is very malleable. Here is a Bohr model of a zinc atom.
Iodine is a nonmetal. It has a very strong smell, and as I will demonstrate, when I drop some of it on a potato skin, the potato skin will change color. Smell that. Here's a Bohr model. Last but definitely not least is lithium. Lithium is a metal that is very soft. As you can see, I can cut it with a scalpel. Not only is lithium very soft, but it reacts very violently with water. Here's a Bohr model.
You will be able to differentiate between elements, compounds, and mixtures because an element is one simple substance that cannot be broken down any further, and compounds and mixtures are not.
Now that you know what an element is, we can teach you about compounds.
A compound is a substance made up of two or more elements.
Chemical bonds hold the elements together to make compounds.
There are two types of chemical bonds, covalent and ionic.
In a covalent bond, the element's atoms share electrons to form the bond. The bond is between nonmetals and nonmetals.
In an ionic bond, one atom will donate electrons to the other to form the bond. This bond is between metal and nonmetals.
There's a third type of bond called a metallic bond, which occurs between metal atoms, but ionic and covalent are the only two you need to know.
Some examples of common compounds that you may find around the house are ammonia, salt, and vinegar.
During the experiments we are about to conduct, you must always be wearing safety goggles and gloves. Do not consume or inhale anything used in the experiments.
One example of an ionic bond is between magnesium, the metal, and oxygen, the nonmetal, which is in the air. I'm going to burn the magnesium to form the bond.
Don't look straight at it. Blow it out. Don't look straight at it, Jordan. You're gonna go blind.
Do you see this white powder that's left over? That is magnesium oxide, and it's a compound of the elements that I started out with, magnesium and oxygen.
Whoa, that's awesome! Here's an example of a covalent bond. If you take hydrogen gas, which I stored in the egg, and combine it with oxygen using fire, it will make water and explode the egg. Our last compound is another ionic bond. Here we have iron, which is the steel wool, and water, which I have contained in this Tupperware. If we put the iron in the water, the oxygen atoms in the water will break their bonds with the hydrogen atoms and form bonds with the iron. What, did you expect another explosion or bright light? This one takes a while, so we'll get back to it in a sec. After a few hours, you can see the iron has rusted to form iron oxide. It looks like sewage. You're probably wondering how you can tell if something is a compound. Something's a compound if it went through a chemical change to become what it currently is. If a gas is made when mixing two elements, and the gas is not the gaseous form of one of the elements, it's a pretty good sign that a chemical change has occurred and a new bond has formed, creating a compound.
Now let's talk about mixtures. Who thinks they know what a mixture is? Great.
A mixture is a combination of elements and compounds that are not chemically bonded. They can be either homogeneous or heterogeneous.
A homogeneous mixture is one that has a uniform composition and the same properties throughout. A heterogeneous mixture is one that is made of different substances that remain physically separate. That means they don't bond.
Oh yeah, that is interesting. You can tell if a substance is a mixture if you can separate all the original substances from the mixture.
Exactly. An example would be a pepperoni pizza because it's made up of cheese, pepperoni, dough, tomato sauce, and spices.
Am I better off?
Salt water is another example because it is dissolved salt in water. If you boil the water, you would be left with the salt you started with.
Am I better off a quitter? They say I'm better off now.
Mixtures are not the same as elements and compounds. Mixtures are a combination of elements and compounds not bonded together, while elements are a single substance and compounds are elements bonded together. Thanks for watching! Well, nah.
During the experiments we are about to conduct, you must always be wearing safety goggles and gloves. Alright, get up there. You gotta do your stuff.
Bada bang, bada boom. Oh no!
Oh yeah, that is interesting. You can tell that a substance is a mixture because...
Exactly. An example would be a pepperoni pizza because it is made up of cheese.
A mixture is a combination of elements and compounds that are not chemically bonded. They can be either homogeneous or heterogeneous. Your boy Jordan.
All Sundays. God find the video. Found it. Yup, it's right here. You gotta record that.
Okay, do it again.
I can't do it again. I'm like.
After a few hours, the iron has rusted to form iron oxide. It looks like sewage.
Just like your face. Whoa!
Salt water is another example because it is salt dissolved in water.
Julian! Hey look, it's a rattlesnake. The first on my trip to the outback. It's a very dangerous creature. I'm gonna poke it with a stick. Oh! I've been bitten! Carl! Grab the anti-venom! I've caught one! I think I've caught one! It might be! A white-tipped plier! The first ever in known existence! One example of an ionic bond is between magnesium, the metal, and oxygen, the non-metal, which is in the air. I'm going to burn the magnesium to form the bond.
Don't look straight at it, Jordan. Alright, blow it out.
The junk's happening.
See if we can get an electronic lighter. This is
Wait,
screwy.
Bless them when there ain't no stress, and this one is straight for the girl them. Enrique Iglesias, alongside Pente de Zona.